side of the stream, like the intern and Jay Stevens, watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens in the studio for Dark Side of the Stream. Episode 255 this week was Jay's pick, The Perfect Neighbor. And oh,
Gosh.
mama, what a story.
Right?
Before we get into the story and all that stuff, did you ever have any interesting bad neighbor stories growing up?
No, not
Nothing like this, not like a crotchety old guy or lady.
They were all pretty cool, I feel like. And then in Hawaii, we had a big piece of property, so
You didn't really have a neighbor?
didn't really have neighbors, man. Yeah, but this one was cool because it was all body cam footage. That's what the whole.
Oh, it was brilliant. It was
So
literally
good.
like watching an episode of Cops.
So good. The whole thing was body cam.
For the most part, I mean, there's like 80. I think he even said it was like 86% of the thing was all body cam footage, which definitely tells a story. So I did have bad
A crazy neighbor?
Well, it was. I don't want to say their name because I'm actually friends with the oldest in that family. Because, which is interesting, because when this stuff came to a head, when I was little, they used to. It was. I don't want to say their name, but it was when I lived in Cape, and this family they had their issues. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
But a lot of kids. There's like 4 or 5 of them, and. Really, out of them, the 1 or 2 made it out. Then the oldest is one of them, who I'm actually friends with now, and we've reconnected. And he's come over to Branson, and we've headed up, and we're good. But early on, like they used to just torture me for being overweight, like when I was like kindergarten, first grade. Finally, my dad was just like, "Dude, next time they get off the bus, they start something, just try, defend yourself." And so I did, but the kid was probably 2 or 3 years older than me.
No.
And so he slapped me around a little bit. So, and I was first grade. Like, what am I going to do, right? Yeah. So, but I learned to fight a year or 2 later. So a couple years later, the tides start to turn. Being who I am, now I'm not the new kid in town anymore. I got a lot of friends.
Classic hero's journey.
My reach or whatever
clout
gains more
Street
than
cred.
theirs. So I don't forget, and we annihilated their house on so many different occasions with eggs, threw Kool-Aid in their pool. I mean, we did things to them for years because of the way they treated me when I was a kid. I mean, bad.
Wow.
Bad.
So you had
which makes me, when I see the story, go, A, how lucky we were to not get shot by someone that's just completely an alcoholic, a drug addict, out of their mind. Fill in the blank, really. It doesn't matter because you really never know. And how different the world is now between the late 80s and early 90s to now here we are in the 20s, where it's not the same ball game.
No.
Like you, in that period of time, you could do things like that.
Yeah.
And you even see it at one point where the police say, what you kids are doing, like you're not even doing anything nefarious. Like you have permission to be here, but I get, like, if she's going to say things, you're going to egg it on. You're just being kids, though, and you have that right.
Yeah, man.
But so that was the first thing out of this whole thing, was like I thought about that period of my life and all that stuff that went down, and I don't want to go any further because, like I said, we destroyed them. And right or wrong, it would have been a completely different in game if that had happened in present day.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that was very, very eye opening for me, and how I guess lucky we are. I guess, right? Because I mean, think about it. I saw a meme recently. It was like, you can go back to the age of 10 now with all the information you have, or you can go back to 45 with $50 million. What are you going to pick?
Oh gosh. Yeah, probably the 10.
See, most people pick the other. You know why? Because think about growing up as a 10-year-old right now in the world we live in.
Yeah,
versus when you were 10.
I have the knowledge of now, though,
but you also know what you were like when you were 10. When you were 10 the first time.
Oh yeah.
See what I'm saying?
I was a fairly good kid, though.
But the world is a completely different place.
Totally different
the experience that these kids have.
This is why Tyler.
Yeah.
That's why he is
1,000%.
Yep.
And it sucks. And I feel horrible for you guys. And I feel horrible for these kids and these neighbors and all this crazy stuff as we get into Dark Side of the Stream, episode 255, The Perfect Neighbor on Netflix on 104.7 The Cave.
Dark Side of the Stream, Mike the Intern and Jay Stevens. Watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
104.7 The Cave. Jay Stevens, Mike the Intern. It's Dark Side of the Stream, episode 255. This week was Jay's pick. It's called The Perfect Neighbor. So it basically tells the story of, I think, a situation that really has happened in literally every neighborhood across the United States, right?
For sure.
If you have a bunch of kids in your neighborhood, those kids are known to play. They're going to play. They're going to find the lot. They're going to find
they're going to chase dogs.
They're going to do
skateboard,
kid stuff, right?
Yeah.
And again, like I made reference to in the first break, where the long point I was trying to make, which was that's the first thing about this that's just so heartbreaking, is that these kids could not play in an empty lot where they had permission.
Yeah. And you could see they're probably lower income families in that area, you know.
Regardless.
So they don't have a whole lot. You know, let these kids play.
They're not out hijacking cars.
Yeah.
They're not out destroying property.
Doing drugs.
They're not out doing drugs.
Yeah,
they're not out turning tricks.
They're
literally a bunch of early adolescent teen kids
average
throwing footballs around in Florida. What's the problem?
This lady didn't like it.
And you could tell, like, for whatever reason, it was always going to be, I'm the victim and every turn. And that's why, like, showing the whole incident with the gate thing was so paramount to the whole bigger picture that was being portrayed.
That lady would just flip. Oh, I'm the victim.
But you notice something? Do you notice something? How fast she could just turn it off and turn it on?
Yes.
Like, you could see when she played the victim. But like whenever the sheriff went out there the one time and she goes, 1 sec.
Yep.
I go, that's the voice.
Yep.
That's her.
Boom, boom.
That's what those kids are dealing with every single day.
Yep.
That's exactly what these kids and families are having to deal with every single day. Not the, I'm scared for my life and I don't know why these 8-year-old kids have to play football across from my house.
Harmless. I know you have to
you know exactly what's in there.
And I feel like the cops were kind of getting wise to that. Because a lot of them have been up there several times.
How many times have we done this show?
Yeah.
And we have been like, hey, blah, 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 department, you dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Hey, FBI, you dropped the ball.
A lot of these documentaries
guys,
that happens.
Whatever county sheriff, these things, you guys did it so well and so by the book. I understand why the family wanted her, and I don't want to get into this because you already know how I feel about it. She should have never been bailed, but it is what it is. They had to do their due diligence as law enforcement to make sure that what they were doing was right. That's why it took time.
Nail her.
That's why they gave the family access to all the body cam footage. That's why they gave everyone all the access to the entire picture, because they knew from the get-go what this was. So props to that county sheriff's department for actually doing their job.
Because
it sucks that sometimes it takes a long time, but if you watch the documentary and you look at what you're about just to say, the statistic of how stand your ground have had an increase of 10 to 11% like homicides because of that stuff.
People, I feel, try to use that a little
1,000%
wrongly.
Yeah. So props to the sheriff's department for doing their job and getting justice in this case. We'll talk about how that went down next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.
Dark Side of the Stream, Mike the Intern and Jay Stevens. Watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. It's Dark Side of the Stream, episode 255, The Perfect Neighbor. So, that was kind of how Jay introduced the show to me. He goes, bro, you know, love it because it's like literally all body cam footage. And it is.
Pretty cool.
It's phenomenal. Yeah. And again,
what's not body cam footage is police cam footage from the
interrogation room
so
stuff.
Really it's all none of it is like recreated footage. It's all footage.
The Notebook thing, which she wrote, still doesn't take responsibility for that. Dude. How are you gonna write that to a kid? How are you gonna write that to a child who will literally blame himself for his mother's death because he left an iPad in a piece of property that wasn't yours, and you decided you were going to kill that mother over that stuff? How are you not going to feel guilty for the older son who still blames himself that he couldn't save his mother?
And when she was being interrogated, the way her story would. They'd catch her a little bit. Wait a minute. So let's go back to this.
Again, another police to the prosecuting attorney
and detective work.
In that scene specifically, he was doing such a good job of making her put herself in a corner and dig her own holes because her logic doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If the timeline didn't make sense, then they make her reestablish the timeline again. The whole thing crumbles when you know the police are on their way, and in 2 minutes you've already shot and killed someone.
Right. When you know
you're already going to do it.
You're inside your own home, locked inside.
There's no reason for that.
No reason to pull that trigger several times through the door.
Twice.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I think the whole documentary, because this was really recent. I mean, she got sentenced like late last year, right? Yeah. So, I mean, this was, from what I understood, they put a GoFundMe together to like get money to make this thing go through, get access to all the information because she was trying to use the Stand Your Ground law, and they wanted to make sure they could get justice for her.
They wanted to make sure she wasn't going to get off like many others have gotten off.
10-11% increase. And it's insane.
You don't want to think that there's still racial issues, but there still is racial issues.
That's like I said. I want to get into the miscarriage of justice in this country. It's not just race. It's also economic too. It's all. I mean, of course, it's racial, but it's also if you got money, good luck. I don't care if you're white or brown or whatever color. It don't matter in this country. But if you got money, seems to me you can get off, right?
Which is wild. Yeah,
it's crazy and it sucks, but it is what it is. And just hopefully you or I or you watching or Magic Tyler aren't in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, Magic Tyler.
And if you are, hopefully you got enough money to defend yourself because that seems to be what the American justice system is all about.
Tyler has so many girls that he's dating. He could probably rustle up some cash.
I don't think that they're that type of girl. I don't think they're that type of girls. I don't think they're. All right.
We'll come back in a minute with our reviews.
Jay just derailed
I threw you for a curve, bro. I've never seen Mike get speechless before.
Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.
Dark Side of the Stream. Mike the Intern and Jay Stevens. Watching documentaries so you don't have to. 104.7 The Cave.
104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 255. This week we did The Perfect Neighbor. I give it a solid 4.5, man. Yep, I thought the producers, the directors, everyone involved, it was a great idea.
The story played out real well. At the end, you were on pins and needles, basically, when this chick was talking to the cops, and then finally when they're like, spoiler alert, hey, all right, well, stand up or you're going to go to jail.
Her breakdown of,
No, I'm not doing that.
Again.
No. It was crazy, man.
Put a man of a different race in that chair. You think they're going to sit there and
slam him to the ground?
That's going to be a one no.
I'm
going to give you one more chance.
On him
and they weren't going to give her the. But again, I think that was part of the strategy with the sheriff's department
just because to show how crazy she is,
how she would be, and play the victim. They didn't want to get involved with her and blow the entire case. I think from the get-go, their goal when they got there, they saw what happened. They knew what was at risk. They knew the players involved. And they knew what they had to deal with. And props again to them for doing their job and not getting baited by this woman. And I hope she dies in prison. If you're watching Susan, which I think is the other thing, her name should have been Karen, but really we should be calling Karen
probably
Susan.
Runner-up for Karen.
Yeah,
right?
Sorry, but that's just the way it goes. All right, next week, I know we normally do documentaries, but since I was able to talk Tyler into doing Dawn of the Dead last month for Halloween as we get closer to Christmas, I want Jay to watch the movie Fat Man with Mel Gibson on Netflix.
Never
just got at it.
It's a Santa movie.
I don't want to tell him anything else. Don't anyone tell him what it's about. Do not ruin it for me. Just It's Mel
I never
Gibson
watch
and it's a
movies.
Santa Claus
I'm doing
movie.
this for my love of Mike
It's
the Intern.
It's an hour and a half. All he has to give me is an hour and a half of his life in the next 7 days. As always, you can watch us. It's only like 20 minutes on Facebook 9 a.m. Or YouTube 9 a.m. I play it during my show at the same time. Jay does it at 6 p.m. on Thursdays. And you can always download it for free as a podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app. I am Mike the Intern. It's Jay Stevens. We watch movies
documentaries,
so you don't have to. It's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.